Okay, we're going to continue our history of Perplexity and Comet and the product philosophy and technical approach. Now, basically Perplexity, and you're going to see Comet is kind of the same way. It's built on conversational search. So Perplexity answers questions using large language models. And you might not be aware of this, but when you issue a question or a search request in Perplexity, it could choose between a number of models that it supports. There's not just, now it's got its own model, but it can also call an Anthropic model, an OpenAI model, any number of models depending on what you're asking for. Comet is kind of built on the same philosophy. Transparent and credible. As I mentioned, there's tons of citations. Now you can optionally turn those off in a search if you want. And then multimodal and adaptive. So now multimodal just refers to the fact that you can upload images, text files, PDFs, and so on. And then it's built on top of the leading AI models, as I just mentioned. So OpenAI's GPT-4, Claude from Anthropic, Gemini from Google, and more. All right. So subscription tiers. Now we're going to cover pricing in more detail later, but there's a free tier. Now you may think, why do we care about the cost of Perplexity? Well, Comet's based on the cost of Perplexity. We're going to see that later. And then there's some legal issues that, like Anthropic now is knee-deep in legal issues because apparently as part of its training process, it trained on millions of books. And now these book publishers are up in arms. They're suing Anthropic because of what they've done. So Perplexity needs to be careful. You know, it faces not any legal problems at the moment, but legal scrutiny. And then there's also IP, intellectual property debates around the use of copyrighted content and trademark issues with major media organizations and so on. Okay, and then Perplexity Comet, history, features, and significance. Of course, we're going to go into this much more deeply later. So origins and timelines. So May 30th of 2025, roughly, Perplexity was officially launched, but it was not generally accessible. In fact, it was by invite only. And in fact, as of today, which is August 18th, 2025, Comet is still basically invite only. Now, I think it's going to be general release within a few days. Okay, so you shouldn't have any access or any problem accessing this. Even if you can't today, you will in the next couple of days or a week for sure. So it was initially for max tier subscribers. We're going to cover this, which was $200 a month, but that has been changed. So in July 2025, public beta officially begins. Now the launch here was just basically an announcement, but the beta began in 2025. And a product that's in beta is just basically in testing. They wanted the public to test the product. And they expanded the users to enterprise users, academic researchers, and testers. And then August of 2025, as of today, there's a gradual rollout, okay, with plans for a future free version for global users at some point in the future. Right now, though, to get access to it, at least, well, if you're part of the invite, then you have access to it. You can probably get an invitation from almost anywhere. And then there'll be other ways of getting it as Perplexity rolls this out. Okay, so technical foundations, unique capabilities, Chromium architecture. Now that's a big deal because Comet is built on Chromium, which basically ensures compatibility with existing Chrome extensions and a familiar interface for users. That's important because half the world or more, maybe 3/4 of the world uses Chrome, and Comet, of course, wanted to be compatible with that, and especially all the Chrome extensions. That's very, very important. It's got obviously a deep integration with Perplexity AI. So Perplexity's search engine serves as a default. We're going to see all this later. This is just a high-level overview for now. Comet Assistant, what it's called, they call it that. The Assistant is an embedded AI agent available via a sidebar on any web page that can summarize articles and PDFs. That's huge. That's a huge capability. Analyzes spreadsheets, handles scheduling, tasks, and navigation, acts on behalf of the user, which is you. So in other words, booking meetings, sending emails, and things like that. And then context threading and memory. We talked a little bit about that already. It maintains conversational context across multiple queries. Basically, it remembers what you've searched and evolves with your user history. I'm really, really excited about that and what that allows us to do. And then agentic browsing. So users issue natural language commands. Now, this is much like the whole no-code movement with tools like Lovable and V0 and Replit and things like that, where you issue English commands. You tell the tool, hey, I want a page in an app that does this, and you specify it in English. And Comet automates these web tasks or automates these processes based on what you tell it. It can automate web tasks, research, data gathering, etc. Okay, then product positioning and strategic significance. So direct competition. Comet, it's interesting. It's positioned itself as a direct rival to Google Chrome. Now, several years ago, that would have been considered suicide, and no one would fund that. But with the technology behind Perplexity and what Comet is based on, it's a very serious threat. In fact, Chrome is probably, I wouldn't say it's on its way out, but it's certainly less significant than it was. And then other mainstream browsers, Edge and Firefox. I use Edge quite a bit. Firefox I generally don't use. But basically, it's aiming to disrupt Chrome's advertising-driven ecosystem. And that would be a wonderful thing for us because we're all sick of ads, by focusing on intelligent, user-centric browsing. And then productivity and research. So it's popular for research acceleration, fact-checking. We're going to see a lot of this. Exclusive access model. So early access has been limited to high-value subscribers and selected users. But as this product is rolled out and is on the market for a longer period of time, there'll be a future free version, at least according to Perplexity, and I don't doubt that. And then reception and impact so far. So there's been a strong initial demand. Early invite demand compared by the CEO to Gmail's launch. Now you might remember, that goes back a long, long time, but when Gmail launched, boy, it kind of took the world by storm. And Comet is sort of doing the same thing. So there's a lot of excitement, a lot of potential. Press and industry response. So tech outlets and industry observers highlights Comet as a serious contender in the browsing space. Remember now, Comet is not just another browser. If it was, I wouldn't be doing a course. If it was just another browser like Edge or Firefox or Chrome, there'd be no excitement for that, and I wouldn't have built a course around this. And then user experience shift. There's going to be a shift in the way browsers are used. So it enables new forms of interaction. Fluid transitions between research and automation and traditional browsing. Browsing at the speed of thought experience. That's a pretty exciting thing. Okay, now we're going to wrap this up with sort of a comparison, a history of Perplexity and Comet, a comparison between Perplexity itself and Comet. We have launch date, who the founders are. So basically the same people that founded Perplexity founded Comet. They're part of the same team. The core purpose here, and you can read through these. I'm not gonna read this word for word. You can take some time to read through this. But the core purpose of each, we've talked about that. The access model, and that's still, with Comet, again, that's still evolving, but eventually, hopefully fairly soon, Perplexity is going to make this available for the vast majority of users, and it may already be by the time you take this course. Key AI technologies, again, proprietary layer built on top of a number of search engines from a number of providers. Comet, of course, then is based on deep integration with Perplexity itself. So it's also based on these. The main capabilities, this is pretty exciting. Again, summarization, automation, task execution, a whole slew of things. We're going to see that later. Browser architecture, of course, Perplexity is not a browser. Comet is, and it's Chromium based. Product integration, it can run on a mobile app, Chrome extension through APIs. In fact, I have used the Perplexity API for some products I've written, and basically what that allows you to do is to call into Perplexity programmatically through another programming language. Let's see here. And then product, so it's under for Comet, full browser, native extension support, context per. So basically, any device where you can run a browser, you're going to be able to run Comet. Strategic vision, challenge Google, disrupt the browser space for Comet, and I'm pretty sure it's going to do that. Who are the investors? That's interesting. Jeff Bezos. Boy, when you've got his money behind you, you know that your chances of success are going to be pretty good. Same with Comet, plus some other industry partners and so on. And then legal challenges, we talked about that. So Perplexity needs to be careful concerning copyright infringement, trademark, IP debates. And so Comet obviously is built on Perplexity. So whatever impacts Perplexity is going to impact Comet.